It's that time again. What's going on, everybody? This is your host, Cage. Joining with me, as always, is my co host, Jim. And today we will be doing the four-card breakdown for UFC Vegas 55. How are you doing today, Jim?
Doing good, man. I'm looking forward to this card a lot. Really hoping to bounce back after a somewhat pitiful performance last week. But overall, I'm really looking forward to this fight.
Before we get into all the previews, and at the end, I'm going to give you guys a couple of my bets for this Saturday's fight night card. As always, this is Cage My IQ, the best price for MMA content. As you see right there, you can follow and subscribe to us on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. We are back on the Cage My IQ YouTube channel. So all we ask for you guys to do is to subscribe or follow on all of our channels. And then with the YouTube channel, if you haven't done so already, just hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. So whenever we put all this content out for you guys get it right away. And then for this video, for this preview video that we're doing, please smash the like button down below and hit us up in the comment section. Give us your thoughts and opinions on UFC Vegas 55 and who you think is going to prevail in the main card. But other than that, let me give a shout out to our sponsor at High Tide Herbal. They've been our sponsor for over a year now. If you don't know who High Tide Herbal is, check out this video right now.
Offering high quality, sustainable products with all natural, lab tested ingredients, it's High Tide Herbal's mission to help others live the longest, healthiest, and most productive lives possible. Their hemp derived CBD products have a wide variety of uses, from helping sore muscles to skin hydration and minimizing skin irritation. They generate results based on your specific needs. Elevate your lifestyle with the new wave of wellness. Visit hightideherbal.com to learn more.
Once again, that's High Tide Herbal. They're running a promo right now with us. All you got to do is go to the website, www.hightideherbal.com. Pick out whatever you want. Go to checkout. Put in promo code CageMyIQ10, as you see down there, to receive 10% off your next purchase. Once again, promo code CageMyIQ at checkout to receive 10% off your next purchase. But let's get started with the action right now. We got an 11th bout card on here. Before we get started, what was your first opinions on this card when it was announced?
I like the main event. Obviously, there's potential title implications between these two women who are fighting. But like overall, breaking down the card and looking at these fights, there's a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of pick'em fights where I was going one way, and then I watched previous fights, and looked at the stats of the other fighters, and I was like, man, this is really swaying my votes. So I'm going with like some more underdogs on this one than I think I've ever had in any other card. But it all can change on fight night, man. Everybody is just one punch away from a win. So I like it, but it was very hard to make my picks.
Yeah, that was me last week. I went with a lot of underdogs last week, and it paid dividends. If you guys heard last week, I had told you guys to go with Petrosky and Yehovich. I was planning on going with the parlay. I hit that parlay, so I hope all you guys hit that one as well. I will get into a little bit more with what I'm going to do this week, so stay tuned, listen to this, and then we'll get to that point when we're done with the preview section. But other than that, let's get started with the preview here. The opening fight that we have for you is a fight that got added 2 weeks ago. It is a women's strawweight matchup, as you see there, between Elise Reed going up against Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes is coming in on a one month notice, I believe, after picking up that huge win against Estelle Nunes. What are your thoughts on this fight, and then who do you have winning?
Yeah, so I like this matchup, and I feel it's actually a closer matchup than most people think, given Sam's coming in
Yeah.
on a short notice. But I have Reed winning this one. I think the last time we went over an Elise Reed fight, I went against her. I went with the Welsh fighter, but I'm going to stick with the Jersey on this one. I believe she's from Princeton. I
Yes.
feel that her striking, Elise Reed, I feel that her striking is crisper, but she does struggle with takedowns, which is Hughes's. biggest advantage, and she used against Nunez to get the win her last time out. If Reed can stuff those takedowns, she wins unanimously, in my opinion. But if she gets taken down, I still think that she can edge out a win, but it's going to be a split decision win. So I'm going Elise Reed split decision.
I felt like Nunez in that fight, she was dominating the first round, and then she just really tired out, and then it allowed Sam Hughes to kind of take over with their grappling and then just clinch game, where she just did all that dirty fighting in there, and she basically stole the second and third round. You got Elise Reed, like you said, she does struggle a little bit with the takedowns, but then she gets really competitive on the ground. She has really good jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
She's able to fight off, and she has a really good cardio. She got taken down a couple of times against Hansen in the last fight, but then she came back and started to stuff those takedowns. Hansen got tired, and then Elise Reed kind of did what Sam Hughes did. She was able to get the striking going, grapple up against the cage with her, and then just pull out that victory. This is the perfect weight class for Reed, straw weight, because
Yeah.
she's a little bit bigger. When she fought, to me, when she fought Eubanks, she was very small compared to her, and she had moved up to fight that. I think she needs to stay here, fight this game. She's going to be able to, in my opinion, stuff some of the takedowns. Not all of them. She'll be able to stuff some of them. I feel like Sam Hughes is going to be staying up happy in this fight, like she is in a lot, where she prays to the game of her opponent. She's not going to look to take down Reed because she knows Reed will be competitive on the ground. Whereas Nunez really has no defense against the ground. She's just a very good Muay Thai artist that can strike. Reed has been developing that striking. She can throw those combinations. I feel like she's going to eke out the decision victory because I feel like she can clinch up good, defend some of the takedowns, and I feel like she's going to pour in more volume than Hughes. And Hughes tends to leave her face open a lot in fights, whereas Reed knows how to move her head back and forth. So I get the edge to Reed.
Yeah, I mean, Reed's really young in the game right now. I think she's 5-1, but she's really putting it together. And her evolution has been quicker than I think most people, even herself, may have estimated. So this is a big test for her. Sam Hughes is really developing as a strong fighter as well. Has almost double the fights that Elise Reed has. But I think Reed's going to win this one. I gets Jersey on the map early.
Yeah, and she's a slight favorite, -150, not big, but I think this is one of the first times that she's been made as a favorite.
Yeah.
Even in her time in CFFC, she's always been the underdog in fights. So I think she's going to come in here with a little extra spunk and knowing that the odds makers are actually in her favor for once.
Yeah, this is it's going to light a fire under her. This is going to be a good matchup.
Yep. But let's move on to the next fight on the card. We got a men's matchup between Chase Hooper going up against Felipe Colares. As you see right here, it's going to be contested at featherweight. You got the Dream going up against Cabacao. You see there, Hooper is the 140 underdog, and then Colares is the -160 favorite. Jim, what are your thoughts on this fight? And then who do you have winning?
Yeah, this is a really interesting fight. I have Hooper winning. This is the first underdog that I picked. His stand-up is evolving, but it's nowhere near where it needs to be for him to actively compete against strikers in his division. But what separates him from a lot of his opponents is his ground game. He's very good at locking in a heel hook. He's very good at taking limbs. Colares likes to go for takedowns, which is something I think Hooper would welcome and would rather happen in this fight, so he can work for a takedown. With this one, I think it comes down to control time. I think Hooper is going to do enough on the ground to control the mat for about 2 rounds, giving him the decision win.
I think it's going to be hard for Hooper to win a decision here, just for the fact that his striking just is not developed to his point. Like he predicates himself on getting the fight to the ground, grappling, and to me, it's kind of like Jordan Levitt, where he's a really good grappler. He can submit you, he can hold you down, but if the fight stands on the feet and he can't take his opponent down, the likelihood that he wins is very low.
Yeah.
And I, but then on the flip side, you go to Felipe Colares. He lost to Gutierrez in his last fight. He beat Luke Sanders, but that was a very tough fight where Luke Sanders took him down 2-3 times.
Yep.
And it came down to that third round where he got that body lock trip to kind of seal the third round and get that close victory there. But he struggled a lot in that fight. And his game is predicated on those calf kicks. He likes to throw the calf kicks, the different throws to the body. He mixes in the striking in. But then he has pretty good jiu-jitsu as well. But a lot of his game is predicated on the leg kicks. And I don't know if it's going to be a smart idea for him to throw a lot of those different style leg kicks on a guy who's going to look to catch his leg and take him down and then just hold him down and control him. I think he should keep it to the lower calf kick, throw it there, mix in a little bit of those hook shots that he likes to throw. He likes to try and get the jab going. I don't see any knockout. I'm looking at either Hooper by submission round 2 or Colares by decision. And just because of the different factors here, if the fight gets taken to the ground, like Colares is able to be taken down, then I feel like Hooper could lock in a submission. But if he can get his striking going, and which is very possible, I feel like he could eke out a decision even with Hooper taking him down. I think so. I'm gonna go with Felipe Colares by decision here because I feel like he's gonna get that volume count up, and I think his submission defense is gonna be good enough to just hold off tapping out, and then because I don't feel comfortable with Hooper with any of his striking, even on the mat. And I think that the judges will be able to be swayed to go Colares' way by the volume.
Yeah, I mean
But
Hooper wears the damage well. You know what I mean?
yes,
He cuts easily. And sometimes like you can tell that he's telegraphing his takedowns. His hands drop and he just absorbs more punches. He's working on his stand up, but like I said, it's not where it needs to be at the moment. So if this turns into a firefight, this was like the first fight of the card where I was like,
yeah,
I'm not confident with my pick because there's so many different mitigating factors, but I'm still going to ride with Hooper. I think if it's not a decision win, I think it's a late third round submission.
yeah. And this is the fight here where I'm just like, okay, stay away from this. Don't bet. Just give your opinion on it because this could be a fight, like I said, where Hooper could have success with the grappling, but then Colares could rack up the volume, and then the judges were sway the wrong way.
True.
Like Hooper might have the edge with control and rack up a lot of control time and get a couple of takedowns, but they might be very like mesmerized by the striking of Colares, and it could be like one of those bad takes by the judges and that go the other way. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm like I'm gonna go Colares because I feel like that's where the judges are gonna go with.
Yeah, this has split decision written all over it.
Yeah. But let's move on to the next fight. We have a men's matchup between Jonathan Martinez going up against Vince Morales. They're going to be fighting at bantamweight. That's something to keep an eye on because Martinez being a featherweight. But I believe he did fight the last fight at bantamweight though.
He did.
So that's something to keep a note on as well. He got the Dragon going up against Vendetta. Martinez is the minus 200 favorite, whereas Vendetta Morales is the plus 170 underdog. Jim, what are your thoughts? And then who do you have winning?
Yeah, you kind of touched on it in the beginning about Martinez dropping the bantamweight. I like this move. I think that this is the right weight class for him.
Yeah.
I have Martinez winning this one. I feel he's the more accurate striker. He uses his left jab very well and is able to work from distance and increases volume as the fight progresses. He's one of those fighters that starts a little, not slow, but timid, and
Yeah.
starts to feel out his opponent, let his opponent get into a rhythm and kind of analyze that rhythm and then start piecing him up from there and using his distance, which I believe he has an advantage in this as well. I think he's going to have to keep his hands up because sometimes he drops them, and kind of goes for that overhand. But because Morales has severe knockout power, dude's powerful. Like there's like just look at him, he's a beast.
And then,
But
the way that he got the victory in his last time out, they were in the Muay Thai clinch,
yeah,
and then his opponent pushed off, and then that's when he connected with that overhand shot that knocked him out.
yeah, he's a very opportunistic fighter.
Yeah.
Like he finds that spot and he just takes it. So it's another close one, but I have Martinez winning by decision.
I'm gonna go with Jonathan Martinez by a second round knockout.
Okay.
He is not the prototype knockout artist, but like we've seen him in the past few fights. He was winning that fight against Davey Grant, where he was piecing himself up. But then when he lunged in for that one shot, he left himself open to get knocked out. He
Yep.
got knocked out, but he up until that point he put on a great performance at that first round and then part of the second. It comes back. He gets a couple more victories. He has that kickboxing background. He has those long legs. He has good movement. His cardio is good. He likes to throw his legs a lot. He attacks the legs, attacks the body, he even attacks the head. And those are going to be his favorite weapons, especially in this fight. And then don't get me wrong, like he has a good hook. He likes to get the jab going at times, the overhand shots. But it's going to be the legs that do a lot of damage in this fight. You got Morales who is just going to look there, and he has that boxing style where he keeps his hands up. He throws the jab. He throws the overhand shot. He pushes off. He has a lot of power, but he acts a little too passive at times. He lets his opponents dictate the fight for him too much, and then he kind of reacts to it. He kind of counters without even trying to. That's just what he does, and I feel like that's going to allow Martinez to do a lot of work to get the volume up to wear him out, and then he's going to look to like throw those shots in retaliation to try and knock him out. And I feel like he's going to leave himself open because he's been knocked out too.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen where he leaves himself open and he gets knocked out. I feel like this could be a case where in the second round he goes to throw one of those overhand shots, he lunges over, throws it, and Martinez moves and throws one of those high leg kicks to the face and stuns him, and then he just capitalizes, jumps on him and starts throwing shots on him until the referee pulls them off. So I'm going with Martinez second round knockout.
It's a bold pick, man. Second round leg kick or head kick knockout. That's a good one.
You got to go out of the park with some of these, and I feel like with the styles, and then the fact that he's going to come. I'm not saying he's taller per se, but he's going to come in looking taller because of those legs, and I feel like and they're going to have success. And I feel like Morales hasn't done a great job checking leg kicks on as well, so it might be a point where he gets slowed down by the leg shots, and then Martinez knows how to capitalize on that.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, let's move on to the next fight on this prelim here. We got a matchup in the between Omar Morales going up against Euros Medic. They're fighting at lightweight here, so once again, you got Morales moving up the lightweight, and from what I've seen since he's done so, he's looked pretty well in lightweight. Lightweight has treated him well.
Yeah.
You got the Venezuelan fighter versus the doctor. Morales is coming in minus 155, the favorite, whereas Medic is plus 130 underdog. Jim, who you going with? And then what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I like this fight a lot. This is one of those fights that I circled on the prelims, and I'm like, have to be glued to the seat in this one. I'm going with the underdog, man. I have Euros in this one. He is a high striker, a high volume striker with great defense. He's very unhittable. In a short UFC career, I think he gets hit like maybe 1.3 times per minute, right? So it's pretty good for him at this moment. In his 2 wins, UFC wins, he's only been hit twice.
Yeah,
which is crazy. You know, we talk about Chimaev and how many times he's been hit, but we don't really talk about Euros because he's not as flashy. Morales is a lower volume striker who likes to pick his spots, but does have knockout power, and he has been doing very well at lightweight, even though he lost his last fight.
He lost to Pierce by submission, beat Shane Young by decision, lost to Giga by decision, but then he beat Benitez
Yep.
and Dung Young Ma by decision. So yeah.
Yeah, I was a little surprised with him coming in as the favorite, but I understand. I think that Euros's pace and his use of leg kicks, he attacks his legs a lot, is
Yeah.
going to be too much for Morales. And I have Euros medic by first round TKO.
I'm actually going to go with the same thing as you. And
Nice.
Omar Morales, like we said, he's looked good. He's gone to decision. If you can go to decision with Giga Chikatsuke, you're a tough guy. And then
Yeah.
his weakness has just been the grappling side of things. He got subbed the last fight to Jonathan Pierce. He's a tough nosed striker. Like just like you said, he picks his spots. He's very methodical with what he does. He has that knockout power. He has a good jab. He has a good overhand shot, and it kind of makes me think of Vince Morales, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
That they will remind me of each other fighting wise. So I'm not surprised with that. I mean, he has a good training camp, so he's always prepared for fights. But he's going up against a guy like you said. He has 2 knockout victories. He was sub last fight, but we can't hold that too much against him because Jaden Turner has looked great in
Yep.
the last 3-4 fights. He's since and that grappling background towards him. And then he's also 6'1". That's another thing to look at. Medic is 6'1", to where Morales is only 5'11". Yet
Yep.
somehow Morales has the bigger reach, but Medic has always been able to use the height to his advantage, throws those leg kicks. He gets in there very quickly, and he can throw those stunning overhand shots on you, and he just attacks you with position. His nickname's the Doctor for a reason because of what he can do with this striking. And I feel like he's going to come in there, going on the attack very quickly, just go to town, and I think he's going to catch him and knock him down in round 1. I think I'm going to say 2 minutes in.
Yeah, I expected this to be a quick fight, just like you did. I would be surprised if it's 2 minutes. This is yeah, and that's no knock at Omar Morales. Like I don't want anybody to think
Yeah.
like, by saying first round knockout, this guy's completely overmatched. But this is, you're going up against a surgeon. He should be called a surgeon because he picks his spots. But
Yeah.
I just think at this moment, this is a very tough matchup for Omar, and I think Eurus is just going to win.
And it's going to have a lot to do with the speed base than it is anything else. I think
Yep.
because Morales can throw those knockout shots, but he's going to be a little bit slow with the striking, whereas Medic is really quick. I'm not going to say too much more, but Turner was just a little bit more quicker than he was, and then that's what caused them to lose that fight. And he wants to get that bad taste out of his mouth, so he's going to come in there with those quick hands, the quick legs, and I think it's just going to be too much for Morales to handle.
Yeah, I agree. Turner was a step up in competition for Eurus.
Yeah.
So it was that loss was bound to happen.
Yep. But let's move on to the next one. We got a heavyweight battle between Parker Porter going up against Gelton Almeida. He's making the move up to heavyweight from light heavyweight. But you got Parker Porter with no nickname. Then you got Malhadino Almeida. Parker Porter is the plus 500 heavy underdog, whereas Gelton Almeida is the minus 700 huge favorite in this fight. Jim, what are your thoughts, and who do you have winning?
Yeah, I think this is where the viewers are going to turn off the show, right?
Yeah.
I'm really looking to see Almeida at heavyweight.
Yeah.
This is your grappler versus striker kind of matchup that we always talk about. I'm going with the heavy underdog. I'm going with Parker Porter in this one. I don't think Almeida is going to be able to land as takedowns as easily as he did at 205. I think he averages like in his UFC career like a 7.8 takedowns per 15 minutes. That's unheard of. Parker Porter is prepared to go to war, right? And
Yeah.
he's gone to war with like Chase Sherman, over 100 punches on the feet, 100 strikes on the feet, but he's also willing to go to war on the ground. He has no problem taking this fight to the ground, which could be a difference maker. If Jalton's going to try and take the fight to the ground, Parker Porter might welcome it, albeit Almeida's very good on the ground. A lot of people, see him at light heavyweight and they're like, oh, this guy's good. What can he do? We'll step up. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if he's going to be able to be that, great grappler. But I think Parker Porter is going to win this, and I think it's going to be by decision. I don't think this is going to be a finished fight.
I'm going to go with Almeida by first round sub here. I get what you're saying with Porter. I had a tough time with this matchup just because let's look here. Look there, 263 pounds to Almeida 203, but then Almeida has the 6'3" height advantage by 3 inches, and then he has the 4-inch reach advantage.
Yeah.
So it's like you got the weight, but then you got everything else is leaning towards Almeida. And then you look into a little bit more. We've seen Parker Porter. He's a tough guy. He does get tired a little bit, but he pushes through that in fights, and then he still throws at a decent clip. Is high volume. He could take you down, but it's not really taking you down. It's more so he's going up there and then he's just kind of tripping you and falling on top of you, and then he keeps the position.
They're dropping that weight on him.
Yeah, drop the weight. And we gotta see how heavy Almeida is gonna come in on the scales, because you would figure with him moving up that he's gonna try and put some weight on. Well, not too much, but just put a little bit of weight on for the move to heavyweight. So if he's 220, 210, 215 to 220, I'd be okay with him because he can come in there 40 pounds less, and he has more skills to his disposal. We've seen him have decent hands. I feel like this is the perfect fight where he can easily just be like, okay, he's going to look to take me down with the weight. I'm just going to drop guard and play that game with them, where I'm going to try and transition to a arm bar or a triangle or roll around with them, because I have the better skills when it comes to jiu-jitsu. He's a world-class jiu-jitsu artist. He comes in, he has done over 6 to 7 grappling matchups in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
If you look at one of them, he did against Cal Borello, and we saw how well he did in his last fight against a Sambo fighter who was bigger than he was. And he had him there because of the grappling.
Yep.
So I feel like he's going to come in there. He's going to look to get the fight to the ground, even if it's not him getting the takedowns. Because like you said, he gets takedowns very quickly. But how is he going to fare actually trying to take down a guy 40 pounds heavier than him? I think he's going to look to do it, but he's going to be open to dropping guard and to get the fight to the ground. And then on the other end, will Parker Porter let him pull guard, or will he just be like, okay, you're down, come back up. I'm going to get the fight standing back up. It's going to be like a chess match to me with these two, because Porter's the better striker, but I feel like he has holes on the ground, and then vice versa. So if the fight goes to the ground at all, I feel like it's Almeida all day. But I could see where you're going with Porter, because if the fight stays standing and he uses his weight to keep himself from getting taken down, he could just win by decision, by just racking up high volume like he does. But I feel like he's not going to do that. I feel like he's going to get taken down, or Almeida will drop guard. He's going to lock in a triangle on him, and I think he wins by armbar. I think he's going to have to transition from that to armbar. It's going to probably be the theme of the night here for this card, but Almeida by first round sub.
There's a lot of variables with this fight. Like, you broke down the big weight issue, right? So Almeida barely, like, he was 203. He didn't even weigh in at the limit at 205. And Porter weighed in at 263. So there's a 60-pound advantage there. Now that's weigh-ins, right? So let's
Yeah,
say that Almeida, let's say,
we got to see how they do Friday on the extra weigh-ins and
yeah,
see.
but let's say
Yeah,
let's say Almeida weighs in at 220,
yeah,
right? Parker Porter is going to weigh in at 263, 265, right?
yeah.
After that, he's probably going to bulk up to like 278. So you're still looking at like a 50-pound advantage. And if you're going to drop that much weight on top of somebody who isn't fighting at his natural weight class per
Yeah.
se, we don't know where Almeida's gas tank's going to be. We don't know if if he drops guard, is Parker Porter just going to kick from distance and make him stand up and bang? There are so many variables with this fight.
Here's the question I ask you though: if Parker Porter were to fight Alexander Romanov right now, how would you feel about that matchup?
Well, Romanov would have beat him. I think Romanov's a better fighter than Almeida.
I don't. I'm not saying he isn't. I think for heavyweight he's shown he's better, but I don't. I think grappler wise, you could say that there's similar styles, and with it, like we could say before, Romanov comes in and was a big guy himself, coming at 260, but now comes in at 220 now. So if both guys are 220, and you're telling me you're picking Romanov against Porter, and he weighs the same right now as Almeida with the same skills, wouldn't you pick Almeida if you're picking Romanov?
I don't know. I'm not confident in somebody who weighs under the light heavyweight limit. Like if he's
Well,
weighing
this,
at
well,
if
this,
Almeida's
well,
weighing in at 203, he could go down the middleweight.
yeah. Well, this is just coming in to what he was before. You got to remember, if he's moving up, he's going to put weight on.
Yeah,
So this is just what they're going off of last fight.
but can he put the right weight on? That's the thing.
Yeah,
Everybody can put weight on, but can they put the right amount of weight? Is he putting on fat or is he putting on muscle? Like there's a big difference. Like you have like the way I
yeah.
look at it is like look at how OSP came up to heavyweight and really struggled. Right?
Yeah.
He knew that heavyweight wasn't the right decision, so he went
Cannonier
down.
too.
Cannonier, Gustafson, like they all realized that that's not the waters that they want to get in with, so they went down. We talk about so many heavyweights who should go down to light
Yeah.
heavyweight. You think of like Chris Dawkins, he should go down, right? People are coming up because and like this is just a confusing move for me because obviously Almeida can make the weight. Maybe he's
I think
just tired
I
of
think
fighting faster guys. He just wants to fight slow guys and piece them up.
Well, he's only what was it? He only fought once once in the UFC, and I think that was the Contender Series. In which he won considerably. I think it's just a strategic move. He's known that there's not that many grapplers in the heavyweight division, and you got a lot of grapplers in the light heavyweight division, and he can kind of take advantage of that. Look, like I said, look at Romanov taking advantage of a lot of these guys
Yeah.
because he can take them down to the mat and sub him. He just did it just now to a guy that was 30 pounds bigger than him.
Yeah, and
Uh,
what I'm worried about is that Almeida's going to win this fight, and then he's going to get pushed into like, oh, you're going to be like going up against 11, 12,
yeah,
then work your way into tens, like how they push the heavyweights. I don't think Almeida
he
can
won't
stand
because
and bang with the top 10.
he won't because they didn't do that with Romanov. Romanov has had that slow build, which has worked great for him, and he's gone up against these type of guys. And like I said, he was heavier then. Now he's lighter now, but I think just matchup wise, it's a good move to move up when you don't have that many guys in the heavyweight that can grapple. A lot of the guys are like a wrestler that can take you down or
Yeah.
like a knockout artist. This is a guy that can truly grapple with you, get you to the ground, and sub you. And it's like he'll be able to, as long as he does what he needs to do, he'll be able to move up slowly. They won't shoot him to the moon.
This is a very
Yeah,
interesting fight nonetheless.
yeah,
I didn't think we'd be so passionate about these
yeah.
fights. Like I'm gonna put a couple bucks on Parker Porter, man. 500
Hey,
underdog.
I don't blame you because it's plus 500. Those are one of those ones where it's like a big odds. Even if you don't feel like he's going to win, you still might put a couple bucks on
I
it.
put like 20 bucks on him.
Yeah, just to see what happens. Because if he cashes, he cashes. But if he doesn't, you didn't put that much on. You just wanted to take a stab at it because of that. A lot
Yeah,
of people, a lot of people did that with the with Michael Venom Page this past week, because he was almost a plus 220 underdog with how good skills was, and even though he lost, it went to split decision. So it's like it's one of those ones where you still wanted to take a stab at it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I might put some coins on there.
yeah. But let's move on to the next matchup. We got a interesting middleweight bout between Joseph Holmes going up against Alan Almadowski. Coming in here, you got Ugly Man going up against I believe it's the Macedonian. He hasn't fought since 2019, so that's something to keep track of. But what are your thoughts on this fight? And then who do you have winning? You see there, Holmes is the minus 200 favorite, whereas Amadowski is plus 165.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, man. Interesting fight this is. Um, I'm going to go with Holmes in this one. He has the 6-inch reach advantage, which is going to help him set up takedowns where he's able to work on the ground. I've seen a lot of talk about Holmes winning by knockout. I think the Tapology community is heavy on Holmes for the knockout, and I think that's just because of Amandowski's
Yeah.
lack of fight time. Hasn't been in there as long as everybody wanted him to. But I think he's going to go back to his roots in this one, back to Holmes. And I think he locks in a second round rear naked choke and wins by submission.
He's going to be coming here very tall, as you see right down there, 6'4" with the 80-inch reach to 5'10" and 74. So he's going to have a huge difference with the height and the weight reach advantage there. And then he is a guy that likes to use the leg kicks. He predicates himself on getting the jab going early, movement, and like jab to the overhand shot, and then he mixes in a lot of leg kicks. Whereas Alan Amadowski, he comes in there. His one thing is it's a very weird style. Like he likes to stand there. He gets kind of nervous. He has that built up energy, and then he uses that torque, which he gains a lot of power from. He knocks out a lot of guys with it, but in turn, he uses a lot of energy with his striking.
Yep.
And then he starts to tire out in fights. So that's why a lot of his fights that you see when they end early, that's good for him. But the longer they go, the less and less his cardio gets. And I watched a couple of fights where if he didn't knock out the guy, he just kind of got out grappled in the rest of the fight. Christoph Jocko and him fought. And Jocko, we know how he is, where it's low volume and kind of grapples you. He 30-25'd him and 30-26'd him with the judges because of that. Because Armadowski is all about the big shots, and in return, he hasn't fought in a couple of years. So he's had 3 fights canceled in that time frame. So we don't know what kind of fighter he's going to be coming in into this, because it's been 3 years since his last fight. Whereas Holmes just fought. He lost the decision to Jamie Pickett, which was a close one. Yeah. But before that, he won on the Contender Series. He won on Fury FC. He showcased himself pretty good. And then even on LFA, I went back, watched his LFA stuff. He was really good with the jab movement. And then when he stuns you, he likes to get on the back and win by submission. So he has a lot of different avenues to beat you by, and he has a good cardio. So I'm going to go with Joseph Holmes. I'm going to go with second or third round sub here, because I feel like he's going to be able to take advantage of the cardio of Armadowski, and he's going to get himself so tired that Holmes is going to be able to grapple with him, take him to the ground, and then Armadowski's going to give up his back to try and get him up. And then Holmes is going to lock in the rear naked choke and make him tap. I think, but I will say this: for round 1, Armadowski has a rear live shot of knocking him out, because Holmes has been known to get hit early on. It's just that if he can survive that, then to me it's easily Holmes all day. But I will give Armadowski that slither of a chance to knock him out round 1.
Yeah, I think this is all Joseph Holmes, man. I think that layoff's gonna cause Amandowski to come out a little slower than he usually does. And that's
Yeah.
going to give Holmes a little bit more of an advantage.
Yeah, it's just that the style, like it doesn't fight loose. He fights so built up
Yeah,
that
he's
it
rigid.
kind of rigid. It just like works against him, in my opinion.
I agree.
Let's move on to the main card here. We got a middleweight matchup between Eric Anders going up against Jung Young Park. Uh, what are your thoughts on this fight? And then who do you have winning? This is a very intriguing one, I would say.
Yeah, intriguing, right word, man. I love this matchup. I'm going with my boy Eric Anders, man. Um, I was talking to him a few weeks ago. We were just like shooting the shit on Instagram, just talking about Miami Dolphins football for no reason. But the one thing that kind of sticks out that I'm worried about is he had a really scary chainsaw accident recently where the chainsaw cut his foot, and he's been incorporating leg kicks in his repertoire.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that's gonna work towards him. But all in all, I think he's been putting it together more, even though he's been losing some pretty close fights. Um, Park likes to get the fight to the ground, but Anders has a good takedown defense and has a ton of strength to stuff those takedowns. He uses like that football base, like he uses his football background and that wrestling background to like stuff the takedowns.
A lot of those football players turned MMA fighters use that, which I don't blame him for.
Yeah, I mean, you just recently talked to Preston Parsons, who
Yeah.
former football player as well, who has a really good base in terms of wrestling. And
Yes.
we look at Eric and we're like, yeah, that dude's strong, but we don't realize how freakishly strong he is. Like this is former Alabama Roll Tide player. You know how good he is, um, football side. He's been on the show before, and you and I just talked about this, about how I'm giving hometown discounts to all of our future former guests. So I think Anders is going to use his stand up to pick point or to outpoint Park and wins by decision. So I'm going with your boy Eric Anders by decision.
Before I get mine, he's the plus 180. Park is the minus
Yep.
220 in this matchup. Anders is coming in, like I said, he likes to stand up and bang. All these football players turn MMA fighters. They got that good base. They like to use those overhand shots because they really haven't like trained as much as the MMA fighters that have been groomed for years. That's what they start themselves with, and then they try and incorporate a little more into it. So they're more so incorporating the grappling into it. Andres has that little bit of that grappling background with the wrestling, and then he can knock you out. His one big thing though is his cardio. He's had issues with the cardio at times in fights, and it's allowed him to make some mistakes. Whereas young Park comes in there. He has that boxing background. He has this really quick hands, and he likes to get the fight to the ground. And that's why you see a lot of his fights with high volume, but then you don't really see it because they're not considered significant because he does a lot with the ground and pound. But
Yep.
he has knockout power. He has good movement. He has impeccable cardio, so he can last for a while. I'm going to lean towards a Jung Young Park by decision here. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I feel like his base is a little bit better with his takedowns. I feel like at times where you've seen Anders kind of just allow himself to get taken down. That's what happened in the Darren Stewart fight in the first and second. He had trouble with Stewart getting the better leverage, and he would get taken down. He wound up out voluming Stewart, but Park's going to be the guy with the boxing background that's going to be able to outvolume him in this. And I feel like it's going to be a situation where it could be boring because they're going to be grappled up a lot because you're going to have Park trying to take him down. You got Anders trying to stuff it and then trying to get the power game going. But then Park can take a lot of damage. Like before he lost to Rodriguez, he was giving it to Rodriguez before he got hit really hard. I just feel like the volume and the grappling is going to be on Park's side, so I'm going with him by decision.
Well, we just lost a future guest. Thanks, Dan. No, this is a close matchup.
Thank God we already had him on.
Yeah, I like Anders in this one.
Yeah.
There's something about what he's been doing his last few fights. Darren Stewart is a very tough competitor.
Yeah.
I think he went to a draw and then beat him. This is one of those fights where I think that the underdog's going to win. This is one I would consider easy money.
Okay, let's move to the next one here. We got a women's strawweight matchup. This is probably going to be one of my favorite fights on the card. We got Polyana Viana going up against Tabitha Ricci. We got Dama DeFaro going up against Baby Shark. Polyana is the plus 105 underdog, whereas Tabitha Ricci comes in minus 125 favorite. Jim, what are your thoughts on this fight? And then who do you have winning?
First, those odds are crazy. You look at just the Tapology rankings, it's 19 versus 44 in favor of Viana. I am going with Ricci on this one. And I did that before, I looked at the odds and everything. There's something about Ricci and her ability on the ground. She likes to get the fight to the ground and use her BJJ to control her opponent. But Viana has good BJJ as well. So I think it comes down to striking and being the aggressor. And I think that's where Ricci has the advantage. I think she's a little more aggressive. And I think she's going to outpoint fight Viana in this one, have a little more damage. And I kind of see this one being very similar to the Caitlin Chukagian and Amanda Hebos fight, where you feel like it could go either way, but it comes down to significant power shots. And I think that's where Ricci's going to shine. So I'm going to go Tabitha Ricci, Baby Shark by decision.
Yeah, and we got to remember in this fight, Ricci is coming back down. She had moved up, I believe, the fight man and Foro just because she wanted to get into UFC, and
Yeah,
she had looked really great before that. She had gotten a very big victory. She got the victory, I think, in her debut. Then fought Manon Foro with the move up, and you could tell the big difference in size and weight. And she's not going to beat Manon Foro on the feet, but she was able
right.
to showcase herself a little bit before she got beat. We just knew it was going to happen. So now she makes the move back down. This is where she should be. From what I've seen with Polyana Viana in her fights, she went on a losing streak to start out, and she's been on a 3-fight win streak. She's predicated to me. She's the one dimensional BJJ fighter where she looks to get you on the ground. She will drop guard. She did that in the past 2 fights where she just went up, drop guard, got her opponent in the triangle, held him for a bit, throw those backhammer elbows and fists, and waited till her opponent made a mistake, and then just transitioned over to an armbar and got the sub. And she has high level jiu-jitsu, and that's what she's going to predicate herself with these fights is sub or like a very dirty decision victory where she gets the fight into her game. But
Yeah,
she's going up against Tabitha Ricci, who in herself has a high level jiu-jitsu background, which she's trained. You look at who she trains with. You got Jessica Andrade and all of them at that gym. She
yeah,
trains with the best of them. And we have to remember she has a judo background too,
yep,
and she's been like polishing up her striking. I've seen really good striking out of her hands where like it has room for improvement, but she has shown that she can stand up and trade with people with the hook shots and the overhand shots, and then she likes to get in close and throw you as her takedowns, gets the body lock, and then just judo throws you to the mat. And I think that's going to go a long way in this matchup because if the fight has to stand for a while, she will rack up the volume. I haven't seen anything out of Viana with her striking, but fight goes to the ground. I feel like she's going to feel comfortable because she's going to be able to defend anything Viana does because she trains that all the time already.
yeah.
And I feel like this could be either a big time matchup where Ricci can knock her out with the ground and pound, or I feel like it's a born fight where she wins by decision. I don't think Vieira wins this because I feel it's going to be hard pressed to say that Vieira is going to sub Ricci in rounds 1 and 2. I just feel like with the amount of experience Ricci has, she should be able to defend that, and that's her only worry in this fight. Whereas Vieira has to worry about the grappling, the judo, and the striking. So I'm going to go with Ricci here, and I'm going to go with her by decision.
Yeah, I mean, when your only loss in your career is the Fierro, I mean,
Yeah,
you're doing something right. And that's when you're going up to say like, I'll fight this killer.
yeah,
Like, yeah, so you talked about her BJJ. Her picture, she's in her gi right there.
yeah,
So, she's got a lot of tools. She reminds me, ironically, of Amanda Ribas. Really
yeah.
good judo background, really good BJJ, and improving striking.
And another factor is she trains every day with Mackenzie Dern. So
Yeah, who's like one of the best BJJ practitioners
yeah,
in the UFC, period.
so she trains with her. She with grappling. You train with Andrade, who she's been working with the striking. So she has a lot of people there
Yeah.
that she can pick and choose and help her get better.
Yeah, and Andrade is great at wrestling too.
Yeah,
Her power in wrestling is amazing.
yeah. But let's transition to the next fight on the card. We have a men's middleweight matchup between Chidi Jacani going up against Dusko Todorovic. Chidi, aka Bang Bang, is coming in the minus 190 favorite, whereas Dusko Thunder Todorovic is coming in the plus 160 underdog. Jim, what are your thoughts on this fight? And then who do you have winning?
I love this matchup. I have Chidi winning. Dusko has to be the aggressor to get the win, but he's
Yeah,
going up against Chidi, who is coming in with a significant reach advantage and has really good Muay Thai. I see
yeah.
Dusko getting clipped in the middle of the first and getting finished via first round ground and pound.
Yeah, see, that's the thing with the Dusko that he still has yet to work on is he doesn't take his face off the center line, so it's there to be hit, and he kind of lunges it forward too. We talked about in the past where if you're a guy really good jiu-jitsu artist or submission artist, you're going to be the type of guy to attack him with the guillotine, and which is what Miki Pitoro did.
Yep.
He just did it at the wrong time because he couldn't get it fully, and then Dusko slipped out of it and was able to just outstrike him. And I think Petro put a lot into that, and it cost him the fight here because Dusko has good jiu-jitsu. He has good taekwondo, so he's going to be good with the striking in the hands. And other than those 1 or 2 losses Dusko has, he's looked really good with his hands in all his fights. But then he's coming up against a guy who made a name for himself in his debut in Jacani. This guy is a big time Muay Thai artist.
Yep.
He has really high level jiu-jitsu on top of it. His hands are super fast. When you watched him in his debut, you would think he was a boxer with how quick his hands were. He was able to get those combinations off very quickly. He has that snapping leg kick that's going to be a problem for Dusko. I just see him going in there and getting that first round knockout. Like you saw him in his debut, like he was a big problem, and I feel like if you look at the losses that he's had in his career, he has 3 losses on Belter, Andre Kurislov, he he has John Salter,
Yep.
and I forget who the third guy was, but all 3 are big time, like top 10 fighters in Belter in that division there,
Yep.
and that's what it's going to take to fight a guy like this with his quickness. And I think he goes in there, throw that leg kick, slows down Dusko, and then he catches him with one of those overhand shots and puts him down because Dusko doesn't take his head off the center line, and it's going to cost him in this one.
Yep. I'm right there with you 100%.
Yep. Moving on to the next fight on the matchup of this fight card, we got a bout between Santiago Ponzinibbio going up against Mikel Pereira in the welterweight division. This is the co-main event of the evening. We got Argentine Dagger going up against Demolitor, minus 105. Near even favorite for Ponzinibbio, and then you got the minus 115 near even for Mikel Ferrer. Jim, what are your thoughts on this fight? And then who do you have winning?
Yeah, the line really tightened up in the past
Yes.
few days with this one because Pereira was the heavy favorite at one point. This is a very interesting fight and probably one of the tougher fight decisions I had to make on this fight.
Yeah.
Maybe the toughest, in my opinion. Uh, Michel Pereira has really been putting it together as of late, which is why I have him winning. Ponzinibbio has been inconsistent and gun shy at times in some of his previous fights. And Pereira has that unusual style that we always talk about that I think will cause problems for Ponzinibbio, who likes to move forward, stay on the line, like you were just talking about with Dusko, work the leg kicks. But when you got, Pereira just doing these spinning attacks, looking like a dancer in the ring, and all his like capoeira background, I think that's too much for Ponzinibbio, who is that straightforward fighter. I have Michel Pereira winning by decision.
Yeah, if you looked at it, it seems like forever ago that he got lost to Sanchez by disqualification, and then lost to Tristan Conley, who took advantage of that craziness. But then, since then, he has won by submission, decision against Chaos Williams of all people,
Yep,
decision to Nico Price, and then decision against Andre Fiallo, who
it's a
looks
big
like a
win.
big time player now. Uh, he beat him. I mean, he beat him, and then Fiallo has had 2 knockouts since then, and
Yep.
is going for number 3 in a couple weeks on the pay per view. So he's looked like a different fighter, but Ferreira's coming in there. You got it right there. He has that capoeira background, flashy style, and that's what it is. It's all about those flashy movements and those crazy kicks, crazy strikes, backhands. But he
Backflips
is,
onto his
yeah.
opponent.
But it's all in deception to catch his opponent off guard,
Yep.
to kind of like showcase a little bit, to then where he can get in there and throw those overhand shots or the jab to knock you out. But then you got Ponzinibbio, who has really good cardio. He has really good striking, more so like boxing style. Him and Baeza went to war, and because Baeza kind of wore out towards the end, it allowed Ponzinibbio to steal that fight in the second and third rounds. Whereas in his last fight against Neal, he was having the striking advantage. He just kind of got too passive towards the
Yep.
end, and it allowed Neal to steal the fight back and to edge him out with the decision. I felt like that was Ponzinibbio's fight for the taking, and then he didn't take advantage of the task, and Neal took it and wanted it more. So coming into this one, I feel like, and this is really tough because I feel like they're with how they're positioned in this fight. They're taking the guy on the way down with the guy on the way up.
Yeah.
They're looking to see if Ponzinibbio can keep himself in that top 15 range. Whereas with Michel Ferrer, they're looking to see if he can hop up in there with how good he's looked in the past 4 fights. I think Michel Ferrer gets it by decision here because I feel like he's going to have the higher pace. He's going to hit him with the bigger shots. And I feel like Ponzinibbio is going to do what he did last time. He's going to slow down, and it's going to allow Ferrer to steal the fight. I don't think either guy's going to knock each other out. I've seen Ponzinibbio go to war with guys and not get knocked out. I think he's been knocked out maybe once, maybe twice, and since then he's been able to take a lot of damage. And then Ferrer, on the other hand, has basically lost to the grappling. That's what's been his thing, that's been his weakness, and you're not going to get that from Ponzinibbio.
Nope.
So I'm going with Michel Ferrer by decision, and he gets that 5th straight win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, man. Well, decision, and I think you hit the nail on the head with Pereira. He does a lot of peacocking to kind
Yeah,
of lull his opponent into like, oh, dude, this guy's crazy, and then
yeah.
goes in there and he just really is technical. So yeah, Pereira decision.
Let's move on to the main event of the evening. We got a women's bantamweight matchup between Holly Holm going up against Ketlen Vieira. You got the preacher's daughter going up against Finamino. Holly Holm is coming in the minus 240 favorite, whereas Ketlen Vieira is coming in at the plus 195 underdog status. Jim, what are your thoughts on this fight? And then who do you have winning?
I'm really looking forward to this fight. This one was a tough one to pick. This is something that we've kind of talked about where these are, you
Yeah.
know, title implications for these two women. I'm going with Holly Holm in this one, but I think this is going to be a rather close one. Vieira has struggled in fights. I think that she should have won and struggled against strikers, which is Holly Holm's specialty. Holm is has good takedown defense and has a good striking defense. She trains with really good grapplers and really good strikers, and she seems to always be working despite not having a fight in a few years. The only thing that worries me is the time off between fights for Holly Holm, even though she is working. We all know ring
It's
rust can
been
be
almost 2 years.
yeah, she was supposed to fight Norma
Yeah.
Dumont. That got canceled. There
Yeah.
was multiple fights that were canceled in between then. I think Holly is going to come in confident. I think she's going to come in hungry. She wants that title shot. She wants to get a fight between the winner of Pena and Nunez.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Holly Holm by decision. The one thing that scares me about Holly Holm in fights is she telegraphs her shots, though. I've talked about it in previous fights where
Yep.
she makes that kind of yip right before she throws a strike, and I hope this 2 year time off has kind of corrected that because that gives away the advantage to her opponent and says like, oh, she's about to strike, boom, takedown. So if she's worked on that, then this should be a fairly easy fight for her.
I don't think this is going to be an easy fight. I think this is going to be a very back and forth fight because if we go back to Ketlen's last fight, she fought Misha Tate
Yeah.
and back in the fall, and it was a 5-round main event, so she has that experience now.
Yep.
The one question that we had with her was her gas tank, and it's not necessarily her gas tank. It's she is one of the best in the division with striking with her hands, and she grapples up good. But it's one of her other pluses is her takedown. She has really good takedown entries. It's just that she uses so much energy with the takedowns, going for several, that in a 3-round fight she would tire herself out, and then her opponent could just come back in and eke out the decision because she put a lot into the first round and a half, and then her opponent would just feed on her afterwards because she'd be so tired.
Yeah.
But she looked really good in that fight against Misha Tate. They were going at it. She did less of the takedowns and more of the striking, even though her at times her camp was telling her, or her coaches were telling her to go to it. She wanted to showcase her striking, and she wanted to kind of get that stigma off of her that she was only like a very good grappler that can strike, and then she tires herself out because she went all 5 rounds. She could have went more. She looked good. She managed herself well. She just outvolumed Misha Tate, which is to me is even with Misha Tate being away from the sport for a couple of years, it's a high thing to do to outvolume her because she's really good with the striking, along with their grappling. And she was able to take her down a couple times, even with that. And she didn't look that bad doing that. It was just she knew she had to manage herself. Going up against somebody in Holly Holm who has the kickboxing background, she has the jiu-jitsu and the boxing. The boxing is going to be a big thing with this one. As long as Holly Holm can stuff those takedowns whenever they happen, I feel like she'll be able to get the decision victory. But if she can't stop them, if she gets taken down because it's been over a year and a half since she fought, it's going to leave openings for Ketlen Vieira to take this. Plus, I feel like Ketlen Vieira has that knockout power where she could catch Holly Holm. We've seen Holly Holm get hit easily in fights because she doesn't take her face off the center line much,
Yep.
and it leaves herself open for that knockout shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with Ketlen Vieira by 3rd-round knockout. I'm going to go with
Okay.
the underdog here. My heart wants me to go Holly Holm by decision, but I'm gonna go with Vieira because I feel like at some point Holly Holm is gonna get caught, and because she leaves herself open, and Vieira is gonna look too. I feel like she did the last time. She's gonna be kind of stubborn to the point where because it's a 5-round fight, she's gonna want to stand up and trade with her, and she's gonna connect with her at some point. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of if it's gonna be a knockout blow or not. I'm gonna say it is. So I'm going to go with the underdog Vieira by 3rd-round knockout.
Yeah, I mean, if Vieira wins this one, you're getting to like legend killer status to steal Randy Orton's nickname.
Yeah, because that's the only way I see it. I see it Vieira by knockout or Holm by decision.
Okay.
I don't see it anywhere else.
Well,
But
I have Holm by decision.
yeah, but what could throw this into a wrench is if we see Ketlen Vieira come in and go for like 10 million takedowns.
Yo, yeah.
And that
It will remind me of the Yana Kunitskaya fight.
Yeah, it reminded me of that, and then too much of that, and not enough striking. But I feel like with how she looked in the last fight with her striking, that she should be up for the task here. So that's why I'm going with her to pull off the upset.
All right.
Yep. But other than that, that will wrap things up with the 4-card breakdown portion of this. Now I'm going to give you guys a couple of my bets for this Saturday's fight night card. One of them is going to be once I get this screen off, it's going to be Chitty Chicani inside the distance. I'm going to go with him there. I feel like he's going to be the favorite, but you can knock off a little bit of the favorite odds to get a better odds with him by going inside the distance because I feel like he's going to get the knockout. But to leave things open, I'm going to say inside the distance just in case he gets a sub somehow. But I'm going with him in this matchup. I'm going to go with Ketlen Vieira, just the money line. I love the odds with her. I feel like the odds should be closer because even though Holly Holm should be the favorite, I feel like the odds should be closer with that. And then I'm also going to go with I'm probably going to go with let's see, Jonathan Martinez money line. I like that matchup. I feel like if he wins, which he should, he's going to cash out pretty good. You're going to see a lot of people going him because of the easy to hit Vince Morales. And then I might do like a parlay. I might parlay Chitty Giacani with Tabitha Ricci. That might be a thing that I parlay with because I like Ricci's chances. They have kind of, I felt like she should be a bigger favorite, and she's not. So if I can take advantage of that and pair it with somebody like Chidi, it'll get good odds and kind of balance it out so I can get good odds with both. So my parlay would be Chidi Giacani and Tabitha Ricci.
All good picks. I'm with you.
Yep. But other than that, that'll wrap things up. Before we get going, once again, this is Cage My IQ. All I ask for you guys to do that are listening is to support the show, subscribe and follow with us on social media. Once again, right there on YouTube. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and then for this video, smash the like button down below and give us your feedback on UFC Vegas 55 in the comment section and anything else you want to comment on this video. And then give a shout out to our sponsor, High Tide Herbal. Promo code CageMyIQ10 at checkout to receive 10% off your next purchase. But we will be back in 2 weeks. Yes, 2 weeks. There won't be a fight card on Memorial Day weekend. I think that's the first time in a while that's going to be like that. But we will be back the week after to do a 4-card breakdown of UFC Vegas 56, which is headlined by Zardinho Rosenstruck going up against Alexander Volkov in the heavyweight division. We're going to have 2 heavyweights that are going to look to knock each other out. And it's going to be an exceptional card in itself. It's going to be the transition to the pay-per-view the next week after in Singapore. But other than that, we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for tuning in. I am your host, Cage. This is my co-host, Jim, and we will talk to you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.